The vast expanse of space was an endless canvas of deep indigo and flickering starlight, punctuated by the fiery swirls of distant nebulae. In this cosmic theater, the Helios Nebula shone like a celestial lighthouse, a beacon of mystery and danger on the fringes of known space. As humanity's fleet drifted through the darkness, a ripple of unease passed among the seasoned veterans of the flagship, the Valiant. On the bridge, Captain Elena Reyes stood motionless for a moment, her eyes fixed on the vast viewport where the nebula's iridescent glow danced with the shadows of incoming vessels. The quiet hum of the ship's systems provided a subtle counterpoint to the anticipatory silence that had fallen over the crew. Then, without warning, the tranquil backdrop of stars was shattered by a burst of static, heralding a broadcast from an enemy long regarded as both mythical and formidable. Emperor Zaltar's face materialized on the screen, a visage carved from centuries of alien nobility and inscrutable wisdom. His eyes, deep pools of ancient fire, exuded both a cold amusement and a devastating superiority. And then, the broadcast cut to sound, a booming, resonant laugh that echoed through the corridors of space like a proclamation of human insignificance. The Emperor's laughter was not merely a sound. It was a declaration, a scornful dismissal of the human race's earnest endeavors to carve a place among the stars. The laughter reverberated in every corner of the flagship, reverberating in the hearts of every crew member who had ever dared to dream of a future beyond Earth. In that moment, time seemed to slow. Every tick of the clock, every silent breath, was measured against the backdrop of that cosmic ridicule. For Elena, the laughter was a personal affront, a challenge to the very ideals that had driven her to command this ship and protect her people. Far from being a simple act of mockery, the broadcast was a meticulously choreographed assault on human pride. The Emperor's visage twisted into a sardonic smile as he continued, his voice layered with both contempt and dark humor. You, who cling to your fragile dreams and scattered colonies, are but a fleeting echo in the grand chorus of the cosmos. His words dripped with disdain, yet carried an undercurrent of something far more sinister, a warning that the balance of power in the galaxy was shifting. In the control room, military strategists exchanged glances laden with both fear and resolve. The weight of the moment was palpable. Every crew member felt the chill of impending conflict and the heat of burning ambition. The broadcast, with its blend of scorn and authority, had lit a fire of determination that now surged through every fiber of human resolve. Elena's mind raced as she absorbed the Emperor's words. Every protocol, every order she had issued throughout her illustrious career, now felt secondary to this defining moment. It wasn't just a clash of fleets or a test of military might. It was a battle for the very soul of humanity. The ridicule from Emperor Zaltar had struck a deep, resonant chord, a call to rise, to reclaim the dignity that had been so brutally mocked. As the broadcast faded into static, the silence that followed was charged with a fierce, unspoken promise. The crew of the Valiant moved with a renewed sense of purpose. In the subdued lighting of the bridge, their faces were illuminated by determination, their eyes reflecting both the brilliance of distant stars and the fire of their convictions. Every hand on the controls, every monitor displaying tactical data, was a testament to the resolve that had been ignited by that single, unforgettable moment of cosmic scorn. Outside, the universe continued its eternal dance, a tapestry of wonder and peril. Yet within the heart of the flagship, a new chapter was being written. It was a chapter that would transform the bitter taste of ridicule into the sweet, triumphant flavor of vindication. Captain Reyes, now more than ever, understood that the coming days would test the limits of human spirit and ingenuity. The echo of Emperor Zaltar's laughter had set a course towards a confrontation that was as inevitable as the orbits of the celestial bodies around them. In that charged silence, amid the hum of the engines and the silent communication of determination, the seed of rebellion against humiliation was sown. Humanity, with all its imperfections and fierce hopes, was preparing to answer the call of destiny. As the flagship sailed deeper into the realm where alien empires reigned supreme, every moment carried the weight of impending change, a cosmic reckoning that promised to redefine the future of not just a single civilization, but of the entire galaxy. And so, with the nebula's fiery glow lighting their path and the Emperor's mocking laughter still echoing in their minds, the crew of the Valiant set forth on a journey that would forever alter the fabric of interstellar history. A soft hum of machinery and whispered conversations filled the corridors of the Valiant as the crew slowly gathered their resolve after the broadcast. In the dim glow of control panels and emergency lighting, Captain Elena Reyes walked the narrow passageways with measured purpose, her boots echoing on the metallic floor. Each step was a reminder of the gravity of their mission, a silent march toward destiny, as if the ship itself pulsed with the heartbeat of humanity's hope. Inside her private quarters, a minimalist space decorated with mementos of past victories and quiet sacrifices, Elena allowed herself a brief moment of introspection. She pressed her hand against a faded holographic photograph of her younger self, full of promise and unwavering determination, before the burdens of command had tempered her spirit. The weight of leadership, though heavy, was what gave her life meaning. Every decision, every sacrifice, was a piece of the grand mosaic that was humanity's fight for survival and recognition in a galaxy ruled by ancient, dismissive forces. The bridge, a dynamic nexus of activity and purpose, soon called her back. As she re-entered the main command center, the crew's expressions transformed from solemn reflection to resolute determination. Officers hurriedly reviewed tactical displays and strategic maps, their fingers dancing over control panels, orchestrating a silent symphony of preparation. The ambient glow of starlight streaming through the expansive viewport provided a stark contrast to the stark realism of imminent conflict. At the center of this organized chaos, Elena addressed her officers with a calm yet fervent authority. Her voice carried both the gravity of past losses and the fierce hope of a future redeemed. "We have been underestimated for too long," she declared, her tone steady as the rhythmic pulse of the engines. "Today, we turn their scorn into our strength. Every man and woman aboard this vessel carries the spirit of those who dared to dream before us. Let that be our guide." Her words resonated deeply. Among the crew was Lieutenant Marcellus, whose youthful exuberance and tactical brilliance brought fresh ideas to the table, and Commander Leora, a seasoned strategist whose quiet wisdom had saved them from many a dire situation. Their eyes met hers, each reflecting a shared determination that transcended the cold logic of military protocol. In that moment, the Valiant was more than a ship. It was a vessel of hope, a moving monument to the resilience of the human spirit. As preparations advanced, Elena made her way to the observation deck, a glass-walled sanctuary that offered a panoramic view of the cosmos. Here, the chaotic ballet of distant stars and nebulae served as a reminder of both the beauty and danger of the universe. In the solitude of that space, she allowed herself to feel the full weight of her duty. The memory of Emperor Zaltar's mocking laughter still echoed in her mind, not as a torment, but as a catalyst. It was a challenge that ignited the flame of defiance in her heart, a promise that humanity would no longer be viewed as a mere footnote in the annals of cosmic empires. Outside, the ship's advanced sensors traced invisible currents and gravitational anomalies, painting a digital portrait of the space ahead. Elena reviewed the data with a keen eye, her mind mapping potential ambush points and safe routes alike. Every calculation was a delicate dance between risk and reward, a prelude to the maneuvers that might soon determine the fate of countless lives. The ship's AI murmured in its quiet, analytical tone, complementing Elena's own strategic thinking with precision and unwavering loyalty. In that moment, the stirring of the flagship was not just the mobilization of metal and machinery. It was the awakening of a collective soul. Every crew member, from the hardened veterans of long-forgotten battles to the fresh-faced recruits brimming with potential, was united by a singular purpose. They were not merely preparing for battle. They were preparing to redefine what it meant to be human in a universe where the stakes were nothing less than existential. The atmosphere aboard the Valiant was charged with an electric anticipation. The ship's corridors, once silent and resigned, now vibrated with the quiet power of determination. Elena's leadership, tempered by experience and fortified by an unwavering commitment to her people, lit a spark in every heart. In the convergence of calculated strategy and raw emotion, The vessel transformed into a beacon of hope and defiance, a declaration that humanity would not be belittled by ancient, arrogant empires. And so, as the stars outside glimmered like distant promises, Captain Elena Reyes and her crew braced themselves for the journey ahead. In that sacred moment of collective resolve, the stirring of the flagship became the heartbeat of a rebellion, a silent, potent pledge that the laughter of an alien emperor would soon be silenced by the roar of a human resurgence. In a grand, circular chamber aboard the orbiting diplomatic station Concordia, light from distant stars filtered through crystalline panels, lending the room an otherworldly glow. Here, under the gaze of ancient symbols carved into the walls, a legacy of civilizations long past, human envoys and Zephyrian emissaries gathered. The atmosphere was thick with an uneasy tension, each participant acutely aware that every word uttered could tip the balance between peace and war. Captain Elena Reyes, though not physically present in the chamber, had delegated her most trusted diplomat, Ambassador Jalen Mori, to represent humanity. Jalen, with his calm yet piercing eyes and measured tone, took his place at the long obsidian table, a stark contrast to the intricate, iridescent designs adorning the Zephyrian seats. Across from him, Ambassador Zyler, a lithe figure draped in robes that shimmered with patterns resembling the shifting constellations, projected an aura of regal detachment. His voice, soft and melodic, belied the steel of his convictions. Ambassador Mori, Zyler began, his tone both courteous and laden with subtle menace. We find ourselves at a crossroads. The legacy of your kind is fraught with ambition and, dare I say, misplaced valor. What assurances can you offer that your intentions are not as fleeting as the stars themselves? Jalen leaned forward, his eyes never leaving Zyler's. Our intentions are as enduring as the light that reaches us from the farthest corners of the cosmos. We seek recognition, not dominance, through cooperation and mutual respect. It is in our shared interest to explore new pathways, even if they must be tread with caution. The dialogue, at once polite and laden with veiled challenges, resonated like a carefully composed symphony of words. As the ambassadors exchanged philosophies and coded insinuations, a cadre of Zephyrian aides hovered near the periphery, their expressions inscrutable. In the subtle gestures, a raised eyebrow, a slight nod, the participants communicated volumes that no formal protocol could capture. In hushed side conversations, human aides revealed their suspicions. Rumors had been circulating of covert Zephyrian operatives embedding false intelligence within their diplomatic ranks. The possibility of betrayal hung in the air, an invisible specter complicating the negotiations. A low murmur among the human delegation hinted at concerns. Could Emperor Zaltar be manipulating the process, using diplomacy as a guise for further alienating human ambition? Meanwhile, Zyler's counterpart for the Zephyrian side seemed equally aware of the stakes. In a quiet aside to his inner circle, he remarked, "Trust is a currency more volatile than any star's flare. Today, we exchange words that may later be measured in blood." His tone conveyed both the inevitability of conflict and the cautious optimism that perhaps, through careful negotiation, a mutual benefit could be forged. As the session wore on, the language of diplomacy became an intricate dance. Every statement was weighed not just for its explicit meaning, but also for the subtext, a careful balancing act where honor and suspicion intertwined. The ambient hum of the station's life support systems underscored the fragile nature of the proceedings, a reminder that beneath the veneer of civility, both sides harbored a deep-seated readiness for war. At one point, a break in the formal dialogue allowed Jalen a moment to exchange confidential notes with a trusted human aide. "They will not relent until our resolve is visibly shaken," he whispered, his voice barely audible above the soft background hum. "We must tread lightly, for each concession we make today might be used as a weapon against us tomorrow." Across the table, Zyler's calm facade never faltered. His measured retorts and graceful pauses betrayed a mind always several moves ahead, a strategist orchestrating a complex game where every gesture was a potential gambit. His words, though seemingly diplomatic, carried the weight of centuries of tradition and the conviction of an empire unyielding in its pursuit of supremacy. As the session drew to a close, The room was enveloped in a silence as profound as the vacuum of space itself. Both sides, having exchanged a labyrinth of promises, threats, and cautious hopes, retreated with minds brimming with newfound doubts and strategies. The negotiations had not resolved the deep chasms between them, but they had laid the groundwork for future confrontations, where words might again give way to the clashing of wills and the roar of battle. In that crystalline chamber of uncertain alliances and veiled intentions, the diplomatic maneuvers set a course for what was to come, a precarious balance on the edge of a cosmic precipice, where every decision might either stave off or ignite the fires of war. In the aftermath of the tense negotiations, a heavy silence settled over the Valiant. The corridors, usually bustling with the crisp efficiency of military routine, now seemed to echo with the ghostly whispers of uncertainties and regrets. The weight of impending confrontation pressed down on every soul aboard the flagship, casting long, indistinct shadows that mirrored the doubts festering in their hearts. Captain Elena Reyes retreated to her private quarters, a modest sanctuary lined with digital mementos of victories past and personal reminders of loss. Here, the cold sterility of starship metal gave way to the quiet intimacy of introspection. As she sat alone in the dim light, her mind churned with memories that were both comforting and painful. The faces of comrades lost to previous conflicts, the sacrifices that had paved the way for humanity's reach into the stars, and the ever-present specter of Emperor Zaltar's mocking laughter, all converged into a haunting symphony that underscored her solitude. A holographic log flickered before her, replaying scenes of the diplomatic session, the calculated smiles, the guarded glances, and the barely concealed tension between two ancient races. Each word exchanged had left an indelible mark, and now, in the quiet aftermath, doubts began to creep in like the slow encroachment of twilight. Was the cost of defiance too high? Could humanity bear the weight of such a monumental confrontation? In the ship's infirmary, Lieutenant Marcellus nursed a minor wound from a recent training accident, yet his eyes betrayed a far deeper hurt, a silent, simmering fear that the negotiations had not been enough to secure a peaceful future. As he gazed out at the endless void through the observation window, the stars looked back with indifferent brilliance, emphasizing how small and vulnerable they all were in the grand tapestry of the cosmos. Elsewhere, in a cramped meeting room, Commander Leora convened with a handful of trusted officers. Charts and battle simulations were spread across the table, yet the data could not fully capture the emotional undercurrents swirling beneath the surface. "We're facing more than just a military challenge," Leora murmured, her voice laden with a quiet desperation. "Our doubts and fears may prove to be our greatest adversary if we let them undermine our resolve." Her colleagues exchanged solemn nods. Each person carried the weight of past failures and the fear of future ones. Their discussions, though grounded in tactical assessments and strategic planning, frequently drifted into introspection, a raw acknowledgement of the fragility of their collective spirit. The crew's unity, so vital to their mission, now hung in a delicate balance, threatened by the creeping tendrils of uncertainty. As night deepened outside, Captain Reyes found herself once again on the observation deck. The vista was a mosaic of swirling cosmic clouds and the cold gleam of distant suns, each star a silent testament to the vast, indifferent universe. In that moment, the enormity of the cosmos seemed to dwarf her burdens, yet also magnified them. The duality of her thoughts, of purpose intertwined with despair, manifested in the soft hum of the ship's engines and the rhythmic pulse of life within its walls. In her solitude, Elena questioned the very essence of her mission. Was the path forward paved with inevitable loss? Could humanity's spirit, so often heralded as indomitable, truly overcome the towering shadows cast by ancient, superior adversaries? The doubts were not new, but tonight they felt more acute, more personal. The quiet introspection of the observation deck became a confessional, a moment where the facade of unyielding leadership gave way to the vulnerable reality of a person burdened by both duty and human frailty. Yet, even in the depths of uncertainty, there flickered a stubborn spark of resolve. The very doubts that plagued her were a reminder of the stakes at hand, a poignant call to fortify her determination. For every shadow cast by uncertainty, There lay the promise of light through which humanity had carved its destiny. The silent plea of every crew member, every soul on board the Valiant, was a testament to that enduring spark, a spark that refused to be extinguished even in the darkest corridors of doubt. In that quiet, contemplative space, Captain Reyes resolved that the emerging shadows would not paralyze them. Instead, they would serve as a catalyst, a call to action to confront not only the external threat of Emperor's altar, but also the internal battles that threatened to undermine their unity. The night wore on, and as the distant stars blinked in timeless vigil, the seeds of renewed determination began to take root amid the lingering shadows of doubt. A palpable tension filled the corridors of the Valiant as the flagship veered into the forbidden expanse of Zephyrian territory. The familiar hum of the ship's engines melded with an undercurrent of apprehension as every crew member braced for what lay beyond the safe confines of known space. The star-strewn void outside the viewport transformed into an intricate maze of swirling cosmic dust and mysterious signals, a visual symphony that was as beautiful as it was foreboding. Captain Elena Reyes stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the sensor displays that painted a picture of the enemy's realm. The digital readouts flickered with data, gravitational anomalies, strange energy pulses, and fleeting glimpses of colossal structures that defied human understanding. These were the markers of Zephyrian influence, each one a silent warning of the potent forces that governed this hostile frontier. As the Valiant advanced, the spaceship's sensors detected an otherworldly tapestry unfolding ahead. A vast, iridescent nebula, its colors shifting like liquid fire, served as a natural veil, obscuring the intricate lattice of Zephyrian outposts that dotted the region. The nebula's vibrant hues bathed the ship in an ethereal glow, creating an almost surreal contrast against the steely determination of its crew. The spectacle was both a siren's song and a grim omen, a reminder that beauty and peril often shared the same cosmic stage. Inside the command center, tension coexisted with a disciplined calm. Officers meticulously analyzed every fragment of incoming data, their voices low and measured as they debated potential routes through the labyrinth of alien defenses. "We're approaching the outer perimeter," intoned Lieutenant Marcellus, his gaze unwavering despite the palpable anxiety in the room. "Sensors confirm multiple energy fields. We must navigate carefully to avoid detection." Each decision felt like threading a needle through the dense fabric of the unknown. The ship's navigation systems were pushed to their limits, as algorithms danced with real-time adjustments to chart a safe course amid fluctuating enemy signatures. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation, a blend of strategic calculation and the raw, unfiltered thrill of venturing into territories ruled by legends and fear. On the observation deck, the vast expanse of space unfolded in majestic detail. Captain Reyes joined a small group of officers who watched in silent awe as the stars shifted and shimmered against the backdrop of Zephyrian constructs. The deep silence of space was punctuated only by the soft murmur of the crew and the rhythmic pulse of the ship's core. For a moment, the grandeur of the cosmos seemed to ease the burden of their mission, offering a fleeting sense of wonder that belied the underlying tension. Yet, every marvel of cosmic beauty carried with it the shadow of impending conflict. The imposing silhouettes of Zephyrian vessels loomed like ancient sentinels, each one a testament to the Empire's enduring power and the mysterious technology that had kept it unchallenged for centuries. The realization that they were now intruders in an Empire's sacred domain sent a shiver down Elena's spine. The same beauty that captivated the eye also served as a stark reminder of humanity's precarious position. Brave explorers at the edge of an empire determined to remind them of their inferiority. In the heart of this celestial ballet, Captain Reyes's thoughts turned inward. The journey through enemy territory was not merely a tactical maneuver. It was a pilgrimage into the unknown, a test of human resolve and ingenuity. Every maneuver, every calculated risk, was underscored by the silent promise of defiance against an arrogant power that had long dismissed them. The resolve that had fueled the crew's preparations now found its crucible in this uncharted expanse. With the Zephyrian outpost drawing ever nearer, the silence aboard the Valiant was punctuated by the steady cadence of commands and the reassuring beep of critical systems. The ship itself seemed to pulse with a living determination, a vessel not only of metal and circuitry, but of the collective dreams of humanity, daring to assert its place in the vast cosmic tapestry. As the Valiant threaded its way deeper into the labyrinth of Zephyrian space, the stakes crystallized into a single, unyielding truth. There could be no turning back. With every calculated move, they were writing the next chapter in a saga that balanced on the knife's edge between hope and despair. The cosmic vistas that surrounded them, filled with both resplendent beauty and ominous forewarnings, served as the silent witnesses to their courageous, perilous journey into the heart of an empire that sought to silence them. The ship pressed on, its course set through the vibrant corridors of alien design, every moment echoing the unspoken vow that humanity would not fade into insignificance. In that defining passage through Zephyrian territory, the fate of countless souls and the future of a defiant civilization hung in the balance, ready to be reshaped by the audacity of their venture into the unknown. In the luminous heart of the Helios Nebula, the silent serenity of space erupted into chaos. As the Valiant and its human fleet advanced, the calm of deep space was violently shattered by the thunder of conflict. Brilliant flashes of plasma and bursts of laser fire illuminated the swirling clouds of cosmic dust, painting a scene of breathtaking terror and beauty. The nebula, once a canvas of sublime colors, now transformed into a battleground where destinies were forged in the crucible of combat. Captain Elena Reyes, resolute at the helm of the Valiant, surveyed the unfolding carnage from the command bridge. Her eyes, hardened by years of conflict, yet still alight with unyielding determination, flicked rapidly over sensor displays and tactical readouts. Every blip on the radar, every burst of energy recorded by the ship's advanced instrumentation, spoke of the Zephyrian forces mobilizing with calculated precision. The enemy fleet, like a swarm of celestial locusts, emerged from the swirling mists of the nebula, their formidable silhouettes set against the luminescent backdrop. Engage defensive protocols, Elena barked, her voice slicing through the cacophony of alarms and the frantic murmur of her crew. The bridge erupted into a controlled frenzy as officers issued commands, coordinating evasive maneuvers and counterattacks. The ship's AI interwove complex battle algorithms with split-second decisions, its digital heart syncing with the pulse of every human soul aboard. Across the expanse of space, colossal Zephyrian warships unleashed torrents of ionized energy that scorched the void. The beams danced like serpents of fire, their deadly arcs lashing out at the human vessels. In the midst of the chaos, the Valiant shuddered under the onslaught, its hull marked by the scars of near misses and explosions that sent ripples of raw power across the deck. Yet, even as enemy fire threatened to overwhelm them, the human fleet responded with a fervor born of defiance and desperate hope. Aboard the Flagship, tactical displays flashed with vital data, a mosaic of tactical patterns and enemy vectors that demanded both precision and audacity. Lieutenant Marcellus, with the focus of a seasoned warrior, guided the ship through a gauntlet of energy blasts and missile salvos. Each evasive maneuver was a dance with death, a calculated risk that underscored the thin line between survival and annihilation. His steady hands and clear-eyed resolve became the anchor in a storm of chaos, as the Valiant threaded its way through the deadly barrage. In the midst of the ferocity, an unexpected breach in the enemy's defenses offered a glimmer of hope. A secret vulnerability, exploited by human engineers with daring ingenuity, enabled a counteroffensive that rippled through the Zephyrian ranks. As the human cannons roared to life, unleashing concentrated volleys of quantum-charged projectiles, the tide of battle began to shift. The enemy ships faltered under the relentless barrage, their once impenetrable shields flickering like dying embers. The climax of the conflict came with a jarring confrontation between Captain Reyes and Emperor Zaltar. Amidst the maelstrom of combat, a secure channel flickered to life on the bridge. The Emperor's visage, carved from the very essence of centuries-old imperial pride, filled the screen. His voice, cool and taunting, resonated with both disdain and reluctant admiration. "Your valor is as blinding as your ignorance, Captain Reyes," he declared, his tone an eerie counterpoint to the chaos. But know this, today you fight not just for your people, but against the inevitable tide of history. Elena's response was immediate, her voice unwavering despite the storm raging around her. History is written by those who dare to defy it, she replied, each word a defiant drumbeat echoing in the charged air. Their exchange, brief yet searing with ideological intensity, underscored the profound stakes of this cosmic struggle, a battle not solely for survival, but for the very soul of humanity and the right to define its own destiny. As the battle raged on, the nebula bore witness to the collision of ambition and might, of ancient arrogance and resolute defiance. Explosions rippled through the void, scattering debris and igniting pockets of the nebula into momentary infernos of light. Each moment was a heartbeat in an epic saga, a struggle where every maneuver, every sacrifice, carried the weight of a civilization's hopes and dreams. The battlefield, a swirling vortex of light and shadow, eventually began to yield to the persistence of the human counteroffensive. The Zephyrian formations, once so meticulously arrayed, started to fracture under the relentless assault. In that moment of precarious triumph, Captain Reyes knew that the battle had only just begun, even as the embers of victory glowed faintly against the cosmic backdrop. The fierce engagement in the Helios Nebula was a turning point, a defiant roar in the face of overwhelming odds that heralded the dawning of a new chapter in the relentless saga of interstellar conflict. In the fragile calm that followed the fury of battle, the remnants of war scattered like stardust across the void. The once blazing corridors of the Valiant now held an air of somber reflection. The crew, battle-worn yet unbowed, gathered in subdued clusters as the echoes of conflict gradually receded. Every scar on the ship's hull and every quiet glance between officers told the story of sacrifice and resilience, a testament to the indomitable human spirit. Captain Elena Reyes, still draped in the weight of command, paced the quiet bridge as she surveyed the aftermath. The tactical displays now showed a tentative stability in the surrounding space. The relentless assault had given way to an uneasy calm. Yet, amid the silence, change was stirring, a shift as subtle as a whispered promise in the cosmic wind. Lieutenant Marcellus leaned over a console, scrutinizing the battered sensor readouts. His voice, softened by exhaustion, carried a note of cautious optimism. "Our counters worked," he murmured, fingers hovering over the holographic maps that displayed fractured enemy lines. "There's disarray in their formation. Someone must have exploited a fault." His tone, though tinged with disbelief, sparked the first inklings of hope among the crew. Elsewhere, in a makeshift command room set up amid the chaos, Commander Leora convened a confidential meeting with a select group of trusted officers. Their hushed discussions ranged from tactical recalibrations to philosophical musings on the nature of victory and defeat. "We've seen the Emperor's armor crack, even if just for a moment," Leora observed. "Perhaps our battle wasn't solely against his warships, but against the unyielding arrogance that has kept him isolated for so long." The officers exchanged thoughtful looks, their expressions mirroring the possibility of a transformation that might extend beyond this single confrontation. Meanwhile, on the fringes of the Zephyrian fleet, cracks began to form within the Empire's unassailable facade. Among Emperor Zaltar's advisors, voices once silent now found the courage to murmur doubts. In a dimly lit chamber aboard one of the damaged alien vessels, a senior strategist confided to a close confidant, "For centuries, we believed in the inevitability of our supremacy. Yet, today, our adversaries shattered that illusion. It's time we reconsider the cost of endless pride." This furtive conversation, carried on the currents of dissent, hinted at an emerging undercurrent of change, a realization that rigid tradition might no longer serve the Empire's survival. Back aboard the Valiant, Captain Reyes gathered her officers for a brief but impassioned debriefing. Standing before her weary crew, she acknowledged the heavy toll of the day's events, yet she spoke with a measured optimism that resonated like a steady beacon. "We've not only fought a battle," she said, her voice firm yet gentle, "but we've ignited a spark, a glimmer of change that extends even into the hearts of those we once deemed our enemies." Let this moment remind us that progress is born from the courage to question and the strength to evolve. Her words, simple yet profound, rippled through the gathered souls, binding them together with a renewed sense of purpose. In the quiet hours that followed, as the ship settled into a state of vigilant recovery, each crew member felt the stirrings of a transformation that transcended mere survival. The battlefield of the Helios Nebula had revealed not only the vulnerabilities of a once mighty empire, but also the potential for redemption and unity on both sides of the cosmic divide. It was a glimpse, a fleeting, precious glimpse, of a future where the relentless drive for conquest might yield to a more tempered vision of coexistence. As the first tentative signals of restoration came in and the damaged Zephyrian formations began to falter further, the human crew found solace in the knowledge that change, however gradual, had been set in motion. And in that delicate balance between hope and despair, between pride and humility, the seeds of a new era took root. A promise that even in the aftermath of war, the possibility of peace could one day shine brighter than the scars left behind. The long, tumultuous echoes of battle gradually gave way to a quiet dawn, a silence that was not empty, but pregnant with hope and the promise of renewal. Aboard the Valiant, the corridors that had once vibrated with the fury of conflict now pulsed with a measured calm. In the aftermath of devastation, every scar on the ship bore witness not only to the cost of war, but also to the resilience of a people determined to rise anew. Captain Elena Reyes stood at the forefront of a grand assembly in the ship's central atrium, where holographic images of the shattered Zephyrian fleet and the recovered human formation wove a tapestry of past strife and emerging possibility. The soft luminescence of distant stars filtered through the vast observation window, bathing the room in a gentle glow that mirrored the dawning optimism of a new era. It was here, in this charged atmosphere, that the seeds of reconciliation began to sprout. A cadre of human officers, battle-weary yet unbroken, joined forces with a contingent of reform-minded Zephyrian emissaries. Their tentative handshakes and cautious smiles were a quiet declaration. The days of relentless enmity were yielding to a shared desire for a future built on understanding rather than conquest. Among the Zephyrian delegation, Ambassador Zyler's eyes, once cold and calculating, now hinted at the dawning realization that pride had only ever set their civilization apart from a common destiny. In that silent exchange, centuries of arrogance began to crumble, replaced by the fragile, luminous hope of unity. In a hushed council convened aboard the Valiant, Commander Leora presented a vision of a galaxy reborn, a realm where ancient rivalries could be tempered by dialogue and mutual respect. Our journey has been etched in conflict, but let it also be defined by the courage to embrace change, she urged, her voice steady and compassionate. Her words resonated through the room, igniting a spark in every heart present, a spark that promised to transform rivalry into partnership, fear into trust, and isolation into a collective future. Outside the vessel, as the first rays of a new cosmic day broke through the nebulous shroud, signals of peace began to pulse across the interstellar network. Distress beacons were replaced by emissaries of hope, and battle lines slowly dissolved into the intricate patterns of diplomacy. Across the void, in the lingering remnants of Zephyrian space, disillusioned soldiers and disenchanted advisors laid down arms once raised in defense of an unyielding legacy. In whispered conversations and determined negotiations, both sides started forging a tentative framework, a treaty that promised not just the cessation of hostilities, but a shared pathway toward rebuilding and renewal. For Captain Reyes, this was not merely an end to conflict, but the beginning of a transcendent metamorphosis. Standing before the assembly, her gaze swept over the faces of those who had stood by her side through every trial, every moment of despair, and every spark of triumph. Today, we turn the page on a chapter defined by strife and division, she proclaimed, her voice carrying the gravitas of a history rewritten. Let this new dawn remind us that true strength lies not in the might of our weapons, but in the courage of our convictions and the unity of our hearts. In that resolute declaration, the corridors of the Valiant echoed with the promise of reconciliation. As humanity and the Zephyrian reformers began to chart the fragile course toward a peaceful coexistence, the cosmos itself seemed to respond, a silent symphony of celestial bodies aligning in harmonious rhythm. The scars of war would forever remain, but they were now the emblems of survival and transformation. The future was uncertain, its contours yet unformed, but for the first time, both sides dared to dream of a tomorrow where differences were celebrated and shared aspirations could blossom into an interstellar community founded on mutual respect and empathy. In the soft glow of that nascent era, the boundless possibilities of a united galaxy shone as brightly as the stars above. And so, with hearts fortified by the trials of the past and eyes lifted to the promise of a luminous horizon, the journey toward a new order began, a journey marked by courage, forgiveness, and the indomitable will to create a better world.